Ready? Yeah, first, frustrating way to end the season. We've had experience now where we know what certain games will be like in terms of now teams that have a strong game plan, clog the middle, in an aggressive physical way, try to disrupt us from being able to play. Game starts, it's difficult to get much of a rhythm going, but we were still fortunate to get the first goal on the free kick. And then there's some defensive plays where we don't handle some situations great. So I think the first one, Tyler's trying to play out to our right side. The ball floats a little bit too much, and Arriaga wins the header, and it turns into a little bit of an advantage. And we still have numbers, but when Ladero plays to Rui Diaz, it's a play where Eddie decides he wants to step in and maybe win the ball. He's a little bit unlucky, but he could also control the moment. The next one, when the ball came inside, we had enough numbers. Edward ends up dropping into the back line, and when the ball comes across, we're a little bit slow to step up. That one was Ladero, right? Yeah. So, and then, we still felt that at halftime we could push the game more. And I think we had a fairly good start to the second half. And then off of a long ball, the decision, it looks like Walker's going to head it back to Tyler, and then we decide not to. And then, again, the ball comes loose and turns into that kind of situation. So, look, we've had these games. We've had moments where we are the team trying to push the game. We're the team that's going to spend more time in their end. But your ability to control some of those transition moments and your ability then when you need to make a play, get a save. So those things let us down tonight. And in terms of our attacking play, it's pretty simple. I don't think that tonight we were good enough. When we needed to be a little sharper, when we needed to move the ball a little quicker. We got caught at times dribbling where you'd get by the first guy, but they were committed and tight, and so the next thing you know, the second guy's always waiting. So, the kind of things that we would talk about and work on all year in terms of how many touches, and when you start to dribble at the second guy and their team's coming, can you get it off your feet? These are football things, and so I don't think we were very good on the night. And that turns into a frustrating way to end the season.
Bob, when you look at the stats, it's an LAFC game. Dominated time of possession. The passing stats are real good. But Carlos had one shot and didn't seem to have much success getting wide. Was it something they did in particular?
They had numbers back. They clogged the middle. They defended in a compact, strong way. And if you don't move the ball quick enough, then when you get up there, it's not easy to get shots. So I think we had for the game 4 shots on goal. So in those ways, when I say a second ago that I don't think we're good enough on the night, it's moving the ball quicker so we get a little bit of an advantage, and in some cases it's winning the ball a little bit higher so maybe we can create an advantage that way.
Bob, when you look at your legacy for this season, do you have a feel for it yet?
Look, the one word I never use is legacy. It's one of my least favorite words. I don't think about team's legacy, my legacy. No, look, it's a season where there's a lot of good things, but it ends in a disappointing way. From day one, we set out to be a good team, to have an idea football-wise what we wanted to be all about, and to build on that every day. And so it's really frustrating to have a home game in the semifinal with a chance to host the final and not get it done. We don't feel that right now. But we're going to continue trying to take the football ideas that we have, challenge guys, find ways to make guys better, and continue to develop. So for me, I don't look back. I know that there were a lot of good things this season, But in the moment, the only thing that every one of us feels is disappointment.
Does this take away from your season, do you feel?
Sure. How can it not?
Yeah. Well, this may be something you also aren't all that interested in, but does this take you out of the conversation as the greatest MLS club?
I've never been in that conversation. So I have perspective on football. We're a second-year team. We never get ahead of ourselves. We're proud of what we are trying to do, and we're going to keep trying to do it.
Hey, Bob, was it difficult to try to get Carlos in the game? Because we saw the first half he got hit a lot, and then the second half he moved to the right and then to the middle. What was the game plan with him to get him more involved?
Game plan is the same as every game. Started him as a version of a false nine. Hope that with Diego on one side and Brian on the other side that we can stretch their back four. That Carlos can come off the central defenders and get touches, and if they come with him, that opens up holes in the back line. That in certain moments, when we win balls, that we can then play quickly to him so that he can get some balls on the move. I think as a team, we're typically good at also, as we move the ball quickly and there's a chance to find windows between defenders or across the face of a defender, that we can make certain passes. But tonight, we didn't create as many of those moments because, again, they had a lot of numbers back, and we weren't able to move the ball fast enough. I don't think we did a good enough job of finding the right spaces. When they clog the middle, you got to play from side to side faster, but you also have to find some spaces just if their midfield group is really packed in where you don't automatically go all the way out to the touchline, but you play just to the outside of the midfield in that half space. So those were a lot of things that look, we're good at, that typically serve us well, but not tonight.
Bob, obviously Rui Diaz and Ladero are talented players, but how was it that they were able to find those spaces in those critical moments, in terms of the goals that they scored tonight?
In transition, Rui Diaz does a good job that if a ball pops loose, he's coming off the defender and making a little bit of space for himself. And I already gave you the answer that on Ladero's goal, that when the ball was on the right-hand side, Edward dropped into the back line. I think we didn't need him in the back line at that point. I think he could have stayed right in the D. And so we ended up with a lot of people in the back line, and they made an inside pass, and there he was. So, in these situations, we had enough numbers. Right? So as much as now their idea was to play in transition, it's still that when certain plays developed, we had people to make plays, but they were a little sharper or a little quicker to get to a play. We were, in some cases, look, the first one with Eddie, we can talk about maybe he can control Rui Diaz instead of trying to actually win the ball, but come on, Eddie's had an amazing season. And so in this particular case, he gets a foot in and it bounces back off of Rui Diaz, and he gets just a split second and does a really good job of taking his chance. Same way now with the second one where it comes inside. So simple touch by Ladero and a good finish. And I've already discussed the third one, so similar. I mean, they get some chances, hit a ball long on the third one, pick up a second ball where we're a little bit slow and maybe not on the same page. I suspect that our defenders, Tristan, I think, probably thought it was getting headed back to the keeper. So when it got headed down, they were able to collect the second ball. He was too far wide at that moment. And then it came inside, and Rui Diaz just cut to Eddie's right. So he cut to his right, Eddie's left, but his right. And Jordan came inside, but was a split second late. And again, the finish is somewhere around the D. So they took certain plays, and they were sharp and made us pay for being a little bit not making plays. Look, this is what football is, especially if you're a team that you want to try to control games. You want to try to go forward. You want to be the team that typically plays on the front foot. There's going to be moments where when balls turn over, you have to be able to make certain plays. We certainly had stretches in the last 15 minutes of the first half and for good parts of the second half where we were pushed up the field, and when the ball came loose, we were able to quickly win the ball back in that half and keep trying to attack. But again, they had numbers there, and you know, the moments of which pass and which window and certain touches, we didn't create enough from those moments. So, as I said, we only had 4 shots on goal. And so football-wise tonight, we weren't good enough. And then, like I said, they had a strong game plan to, like every team against us, to shut down the middle and be a little bit physical. But we expected that. And we put the responsibility on ourselves.
Bob, what do you think about the way the ref carried the game, especially on the questionable plays? He never went to the VAR.
Yeah, I can't. It would take. It's so hard to know when they go to. You know, I'd assume that the VAR is saying something, but look, it's just not an easy conversation because sometimes we're not clear what they're doing. And when they talk, and then, you know, the fourth official will say sometimes that it's shoulder to shoulder, and you kind of think, well, I don't think so. But I've not talked about the refs all year. I don't think we were good enough tonight. So please, I don't feel like getting into a long discussion on the referees tonight.
Bob, to follow up on that, the players reacted and the fans reacted like they'd seen a couple handballs. Did you notice anything from your vantage point?
I see all the things that, you know, the people in the stands see and everything else. So, you know, this is our game. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to get into a long discussion, but the handball law is hard to figure out to begin with, and then when you throw in VAR, and when you use it and when you don't, and it's not something that shouldn't be the topic tonight. You know, I started out and I spoke for 10 minutes, and I spoke about football, and I speak about it the same way I do every game, win or lose. You know, the things that I think we try to do, what we try to be about as a team, and I gave you, I think, specifics on things tonight that weren't so good, and that's why we're disappointed.
After Thursday, it's such an emotionally charged game. Latif talked about it felt like you'd won the MLS Cup. Carlos said the pressure was off. Was there any sense of your team that they weren't as sharp because the emotions were so high on Thursday?
I can't answer that. I think we always have the same approach. We turn around quickly from one game to the next. We were proud of the first playoff game and beating the Galaxy and moving on. We knew that this game was going to be hard. We never in any way looked past Seattle. We know that when you get to a semifinal, everybody on the field is fighting like crazy to get into a final. And we knew that they would have a game plan that I've mentioned. And so, for me, I don't think so, but you can ask some of the players. I hope not.
Coach, but a little bit on what you were saying. Of course, part of their game plan was to contain Carlos.
No, but it's not just to contain Carlos. It's to shut down the center of the field, to make sure that when the ball, that it's hard to play through the middle, that when the ball does get to Carlos's feet, that not only do they have a first defender, but a second and third. And so we've been able all year long to find ways. Every team all year long has a game plan for Carlos, all right? That is obvious, right? And they have a game plan for us in terms of trying to figure out what do we do well? How can we disrupt a little bit of their rhythm? How can we, if we're hard around Edward Atuesta and the first pass can't go to him, does that disrupt things? These are the ideas that get put into play. And so we always have in our mind ways that get worked on over and over. Then if the first pass can't go to Edward, then there's Lee or there's Latif. And then that way we can still make the next play quickly. And then as that happens, we get some kind of rhythm going. We get the game going at a better tempo. But I don't think we did that very well tonight. And so that meant that oftentimes for any of our attackers, when we got the ball to them, it was still difficult. There were so many numbers around. It's hard to break through at that point. So winning some balls in some moments where maybe if you win it, you can create an advantage. Not enough of those. So, yeah, same ideas as always, but tonight not good enough.
Just a few more, Ryan.
Bob, can you talk about the last word on Latif Blessing with his injury coming off? And you talked about starting the second half well. What did the team miss with him not being on the field and his energy and his work rate in those sequences to begin the second?
No, I mean, look, you guys have watched Latif all year. You know that his ability to have energy, get around the ball. And so we missed that. But I thought Mark came on and tried to get involved in the game. Our midfield three still, I think in that period of time was finding the right passes and trying to win the ball back quickly. And then when it's 3-1, I don't remember the minute, 72 or 4 or 5 or something, then, you know, we in order to try to change the game a little bit, we brought Adrian on and took Lee off and tried to see if we could just give Carlos more freedom at that point. That's not something we've done, and it's never ideal that now you're trying things. But that's the nature of these one-off games, that, you know, there you are with 15 minutes to go, or you're down 3-1, so you're trying to find ways to see if you can get back to 3-2 and get a little momentum.
All right, last one for Bob, and then we got Mark Anthony K right here.
Bob, you spoke after a winning Supporters Shield that you said you really didn't address the team and you kind of just let them bask in the moment. Is today kind of one of those similar sentiments where you just are letting this happen, or have you addressed the team, and what is that final message to kind of not have
It's
closure,
not the
but
final
move
message.
forward?
It was a quick message tonight, and it's pretty much what I told you, that we'll have more time to talk about the season and talk about everything that's gone on. But as disappointing as we all are, we also said that tonight, football-wise, wasn't our best night. And that here are the things that we put on ourselves every game. So we've not been a team once that came in and said, well, look what they did. You know, no, it's our responsibility to try to take control of the game, to make the right decisions, make the right plays. When balls turn over, get the kind of reactions where we can control moments and continue to attack. You know, we love trying to play that way. And tonight we tried over and over and over, but still, when all is said and done, I don't think we were good enough. So we said that. That's how we talk to each other. And then we'll get back to the other things in a couple of days.